Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Moving to a new city was supposed to be a fresh start for both of us. My wife and I had spent years in the same town, surrounded by the same people, locked into the same routines. When an opportunity came up for a promotion that required relocation, I took it, thinking it would be good for us. She had always been social, the type to make friends effortlessly, and within weeks of moving, she had already built a circle around her. At first, I was relieved. Adjusting to a new place was easier when she had company. But I started to notice changes. The women in her group were different. Their conversation seemed to revolve around one thing: cheating husbands. Every time I overheard them talking, it was about some horror story of a man betraying his wife, secret affairs, hidden bank accounts, and late-night work meetings. They talked about tracking their husbands' phones, checking their messages, and installing hidden cameras. They called it being smart. She called it protecting herself. The first time she questioned me, I brushed it off. She had asked me why I was 15 minutes late from work, her tone light, but her eyes sharp. I explained that traffic had been bad, and she nodded, though she kept watching me as if waiting for me to crack under pressure. It escalated from their casual questions, turned into long interrogations. Who was I talking to? Why did I take longer than usual at the grocery store? I tried to be patient. I really did. I reassured her that I wasn't hiding anything, that nothing had changed between us. But it didn't seem to matter. If I laughed at something on my phone, she'd demand to see it. If I mentioned a female coworker in passing, she'd ask too many questions, dissecting my tone and my choice of words. It got exhausting. One night, as I was getting ready for bed, I noticed her phone screen light up with a message from someone in her friend group. I didn't mean to pry, but my name was right there. I glanced at it. He's probably lying. Men always do. Did you check his car yet? I felt my stomach drop. The next morning I left for work like usual, but something nagged at me. The way she had been acting, the way her new friend seemed to be feeding her suspicions. I had a bad feeling. So, before pulling out of the driveway, I decided to check. I crouched down and ran my hand along the undercarriage of my car, feeling for anything unusual. And then I found it. A small magnetic device attached near the rear wheel, a GPS tracker. I stared at it for a long moment, my heart pounding. She had actually done it. She had listened to them. When I got home that night, I confronted her. I didn't yell, didn't lose my temper. I just held up the tracker and asked if she had anything to say. She looked at it, then at me, her face blank at first before she scoffed and crossed her arms. She said that it was for her own peace of mind. She claimed that it wasn't a big deal, that she just needed proof that I wasn't cheating, that she didn't want to be one of those women who got blindsided. When I asked her what I had done to make her think she needed to track my every move, she had nothing real to say, just vague statements about how men can't be trusted, how she had heard stories. I told her that this wasn't normal, that her paranoia was getting out of control. She rolled her eyes, saying that I was overreacting and that I should just prove I had nothing to hide. I thought that would be the worst of it. That maybe after I called her out, she'd snap out of it. But I was wrong. The next morning, I woke up and found that my phone had a new app. I hadn't installed, a tracking app. She must have done it while I was asleep. I felt sick. This wasn't just suspicion anymore. This was control. I deleted the app immediately and told her that she needed to stop and that I wouldn't tolerate this level of invasion in my life. She got defensive, twisting it back on me. If I had nothing to hide, why was I so upset? If I really loved her, I'd understand. If I truly cared, I'd let her have her peace. I was losing patience. I told her to seek therapy, that this wasn't about me, it was about her. She got angry and told me I was being manipulative and that I was trying to make her the problem. That night, she stayed up late, scrolling through her phone, whispering into the speaker, probably talking to her friends again. I went to bed exhausted and mentally drained. Update 1. Things didn't get better after I confronted her. If anything, they got worse. She stopped speaking to me normally, only interacting with me when she had to, and even then, it felt forced. I'd catch her watching me when she thought I wasn't looking. Her expression cold and calculating, like she was trying to piece something together in her head. Then came the random pop-up visits to my workplace. The first time, I didn't think much of it. She showed up at my office during lunch, smiling like nothing was wrong. She had brought food, acting as if she just happened to be in the area and thought she'd surprise me. I knew better. She had never done this before, ever. But I played along, trying to keep the peace. Then it happened again and again, always at different times, never scheduled, always unannounced. Each time she'd ask odd questions. Who was in my office that day? Who I had meetings with? What I was working on? She'd make small comments about my female coworkers, acting casual, but I could tell she was fishing for something. One afternoon, she showed up and started chatting with the receptionist. I didn't think much of it until later when my coworker mentioned that my wife had asked about my schedule and about who I spent the most time with at work. I knew then that she was spiraling. I sat her down that night and told her it had to stop. I told her she wasn't allowed to show up at my job unannounced, that it was getting uncomfortable, and that it was affecting my work. She didn't take it well. She accused me of trying to hide something. She said that a good husband wouldn't care if his wife visited. She asked why I was so nervous. I was furious. I told her that I wasn't nervous. I was frustrated, that her obsession with proving I was cheating had gone too far, that it wasn't cute or protective. It was toxic. She didn't say anything, just stared at me for a long time before walking away. I hoped that would be the end of it. I was wrong. A few days later, I was called into my boss's office. At first, I assumed it was for a regular check-in, but the moment I walked in and saw the look on his face, I knew something was wrong. He told me that security had reported an incident, that a woman, my wife, had been caught sneaking into the building and waiting till after hours, that she had been seen on security footage entering restricted areas and lurking around my office. I felt my stomach drop. When I asked what she was doing, my boss told me that security had found a tracking device with an audio feature hidden under my office desk. She had broken in to bug my workspace. I was humiliated. I had no words, no defense. My boss told me that HR had to get involved and that this was serious, that the company couldn't just let it slide because it was a major breach of privacy. They had already filed a report with security and legal action was being considered. I sat there stunned, unable to process what I was hearing. She had actually broken in. She had actually planted a device in my office. And now she was in serious trouble. That night, I confronted her, not even trying to stay calm. I demanded to know what the hell she was thinking, why she had gone this far. She didn't deny it. She looked me dead in the eye and said that I had forced her to do it, that if I had been honest from the start, if I had just let her in on everything, she wouldn't have had to take matters into her own hands. I was speechless. I asked her if she even understood what she had done, that she had committed a crime, that this wasn't just some petty fight between a married couple. This was stalking. She still didn't get it. She said that if I had nothing to hide, I should be grateful she went through the effort, that at least now she had proof that I was faithful. I told her that her proof didn't matter because she had already crossed every line possible. She laughed. She said that my precious job wouldn't dare fire me over this, that it was all being blown out of proportion, and that I was just overreacting again. But she didn't know the full story yet because I was the one pressing charges. I had already spoken to HR and security, and after seeing the footage, I made the decision. This wasn't about protecting my job anymore. This was about protecting myself. She had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed, and soon she would realize that there were consequences. Real ones. Update 2. The morning after our fight, I woke up to find my wife sitting at the dining table, staring at her phone like she was waiting for something. Her eyes flicked up to me the moment I stepped into the kitchen, cold and unreadable. I ignored her. I wasn't in the mood. I grabbed a cup of coffee and was about to head out the door when she finally spoke, her voice eerily calm. She said that she had a feeling I would regret what I was doing. I turned to her, already exhausted, and asked what the hell she meant by that. She just smiled. Not a normal smile, a knowing one, like she had something up her sleeve. I didn't engage. I wasn't going to play whatever game she was trying to set up. I told her I was done with all of this. I reminded her that I had given her every chance to stop, to back off, to realize how insane she was acting, and I reminded her that now it was out of my hands. Her smile disappeared. She said that I was the one making this worse than it needed to be, that she had only done what any good wife would do, that I had turned this into something it wasn't. I almost laughed. I told her that breaking into my workplace, planting tracking devices, and violating my privacy was not something a good wife did. It was something a criminal did. She didn't take that well. She jumped up from her chair, slamming her phone onto the table, furious now. She said that if I was going to treat her like the bad guy, then maybe she should start acting like one. I asked if that was a threat. She didn't answer. I walked out. At work, things were tense. HR had already taken statements, and security had finished their review of the footage. The next step was the legal process, and I knew that meant my wife was going to get a call soon. By lunch, she did. She called me, voice shaking with barely contained rage. She screamed at me, demanding to know if I was really doing this, if I was really pressing charges. I told her yes. She lost it. She called me every name in the book, said that I was ruining her life, that I was supposed to be her husband, and that she had only done this because she loved me. I told her that what she did wasn't love, it was control. She went silent for a moment. Then she asked, voice dangerously low, if I was really willing to throw our marriage away over this. I told her that she was the one who threw it away the moment she put a tracker on my damn car. She hung up. I didn't hear from her for the rest of the day. When I got home, the house was eerily quiet. I found her in the bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed, clutching her phone in both hands. She looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw something new in her eyes. Panic. She said that she had spoken to a lawyer, and that things were bad. That if I didn't drop the charges, she could actually face serious consequences. I told her that was the point. She started crying. Real tears, not the manipulative kind, actual gut-wrenching sobs. She said that she messed up, that she got too caught up in things, that she just wanted to protect our marriage and didn't realize how far she had gone. I stood there watching her break down. I felt nothing. I was just so tired at that point. No anger, no sympathy, just exhaustion. I told her that I wished she had realized all of this before she crossed the line, before she made herself into a criminal. She looked up at me, still crying, and asked if I would really let this happen to her. I told her that she let this happen to herself. I also told her that it didn't matter if I dropped the charges, the company wouldn't. And I walked out of the room. That was the last real conversation we had before everything exploded. Because the next day, she tried to flip the script. She went to some of our mutual friends and told them that I was being cruel to her, that I was overreacting and that I was punishing her for something that wasn't even a big deal. Some of them bought into it. I got texts, calls, messages telling me that she had just made a mistake and that I was ruining her life over something that could have been handled privately. But I wasn't going to be manipulated. I told them that they could believe whatever they wanted, but the facts were the facts. That I wasn't going to tolerate stalking from anyone, even my own wife. And then I blocked them because I didn't care what anyone thought anymore. I had made my decision, and soon she was going to face the consequences. Update 3. The moment I stepped into the house that evening, I knew she had been waiting for me. She was sitting in the living room, eyes bloodshot, phone clutched in her hand, like she had been gripping it all day. She barely gave me a second to put my bag down before she started talking, her voice thick with desperation. She said that she had spoken to her lawyer again, that there were ways we could fix this, that all I had to do was drop the charges and tell my company I had changed my mind. I sighed. I told her it didn't matter if I dropped the charges, which I wouldn't. My company was still suing her. Her face crumbled. He stammered out something about how they couldn't really be taking this that far, how she was my wife, how it was all just a misunderstanding. I told her that breaking into my office, planting tracking devices with audio listening features, and invading company property wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a crime. And now she was going to face the consequences. She shot up from the couch, panic fully setting in. She demanded to know if I even cared what would happen to her. I told her that she stopped being my concern the moment she made me her enemy. And then I told her the other thing, that I was filing for divorce, that I was done, that I would be moving out within the week. She went completely still. Then she laughed, not a normal laugh, a broken, bitter one. She asked if I was seriously going to throw away our marriage just like that, if I was really willing to leave her over something so stupid. I told her that she was the one who threw everything away, the second she chose her obsession over our marriage. She wasn't laughing anymore. She shook her head, hands clenched at her sides, and said that I wasn't thinking clearly, that if I just gave her a chance, we could fix this. I told her that the only thing I was thinking clearly about was how quickly I could get away from her. And that's when she snapped. She started yelling, saying that I was ruining her life, that I had let the wrong people get into my head, and that I was being cruel for no reason. I stood there, arms crossed, and let her spiral because I wasn't playing this game anymore. She threw out every argument she could think of, how much we had been through together, how much we had loved each other, how she had only done this because she cared so much. I told her that love didn't look like this, and then I told her something else, that I wasn't going to be the one explaining this to her family, that she could be the one to tell them how she destroyed our marriage. Her whole body stiffened. She looked at me like I had just betrayed her in the worst way possible. She asked if I had already told them. I told her no, but I would. Her eyes filled with panic all over again. She begged me not to. She begged. She said that if I told them, she would never be able to face them again, that they would never forgive her. I told her that was her problem, not mine. I told her that she was the one who had let the wrong people get in her mind. I reminded her of all the warnings I had given her. I told her I couldn't believe how she was so easily influenced by others, and that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life like this. She collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. She asked if there was anything she could do to make me change my mind. I told her no, that my mind had been made up for weeks, that the only reason I had waited this long was because I had been holding on to some tiny, useless hope that she would wake up and see how far gone she was. But she never did. And now it was too late. I turned to leave the room. She called out my name one last time, voice raw. She asked if I ever really loved her. I stopped for just a second, and then I told her the truth. I told her that I had, but the person I had loved didn't exist anymore. And then I walked away, because there was nothing left to say. Update 4. 2 months had passed since I left. 2 months since I had packed up my things, filed the divorce papers, and cut my wife out of my life for good. And in those 2 months, everything had come crashing down around her. I hadn't spoken to her once since I walked out. The only updates I got were from mutual acquaintances and the occasional legal notice that got forwarded to my lawyer. But even without direct contact, it was clear that things had not been going well for her. For one, the company lawsuit moved forward. She had hoped that my silence meant I had let it go, that maybe I had secretly dropped the charges or convinced my company to back off. She was wrong. I had nothing to say to her, but I had everything to say to my company, and they were pursuing this aggressively. The evidence against her was overwhelming. The security footage, the tracking device found at my office, and the records showing she had purchased the devices herself. She had no way to talk her way out of this. I heard that she had tried to plead temporary insanity, claiming that her new friends had gotten into her head, that she hadn't been thinking straight, and that she had just been a paranoid wife trying to protect her marriage. No one bought it. The company didn't care about her excuses. All they cared about was holding her accountable for trespassing, stalking, and attempting to interfere with company operations. They were a cybersecurity company after all. Her court date was set, and she was terrified. I also heard that her so-called friends had disappeared the second things got bad. She had burned bridges with the people who actually cared about her, choosing instead to surround herself with people who fed her paranoia and obsession. And now that she was in real legal trouble, those same people had abandoned her completely. She was on her own. Even her family wasn't on her side anymore. When they found out about what she had done, about how she had destroyed our marriage with her insanity, they had been horrified. Her parents had always liked me, and when they realized that their daughter had become this kind of person, they couldn't even look at her without disappointment. I wasn't there for it, but I heard that they had begged her to fix things. They had told her to apologize, to take accountability, to stop acting like she was the victim. She hadn't listened. She had doubled down, insisting that I was the one who had betrayed her, that I was the one who had ruined our marriage by not standing by her. Her parents had stopped speaking to her after that. She was completely isolated. And as much as I should have felt some kind of satisfaction watching her destroy her own life, I didn't. All I felt was relief that I'd gotten out when I did. I had moved into a new place, kept my focus on work, and started rebuilding my life without her in it. And let me tell you, I felt a lot better. I didn't have to check over my shoulder anymore, wondering if my wife had installed another tracker or if she was spying on me. I didn't have to deal with the emotional exhaustion of walking on eggshells around someone who saw me as a villain. I didn't have to feel trapped in a marriage that had become nothing but paranoia and control. I was finally free, and I wasn't looking back. The only real tie I had left to my past life was the upcoming court case, and I had already made my decision. When the trial came, I would testify against her, not out of revenge, not out of anger, but because it was the right thing to do. Because someone who could do what she did deserved to face the consequences. She had chosen this path, and now she was going to walk it alone. Update 5. I wasn't planning on coming back with another update, but after the way some of you responded, I felt like I had to say something because honestly, I wasn't expecting this level of hostility. I thought people would understand. I thought that after everything my ex-wife put me through, the tracking devices, the breaking, the lawsuit, the complete breakdown of trust, people would see why I had to walk away. But apparently that wasn't the case. I woke up to hundreds of comments telling me that I'm the villain here, that I should have handled things differently, that I should have been kinder, that I should have given her another chance, that pressing charges was too extreme because she was just a woman who had been manipulated by a toxic friend group. Some people even had the nerve to suggest that maybe I did something to deserve her paranoia, that maybe I had actually cheated and she was just reacting to her instincts, that I must have led her to this behavior, as if I was responsible for the fact that my wife had lost her grip on reality and turned into a full-blown stalker. One person wrote that I should have helped her instead of abandoning her when she clearly had mental health struggles, that as her husband, it was my duty to stand by her through sickness and health, and that by leaving, I had just proven to her that she was right to be suspicious of me. Another person said that suing my own wife was cruel, and that I was doing it just to flex my power over her instead of trying to find a peaceful resolution. And then there were the ones who said that I was being petty, that my wife had already lost everything, her marriage, her friends, her family. So why did I feel the need to destroy her even further? That I was kicking her while she was already down. And honestly, I'm done. I'm done trying to justify myself to people who are determined to twist this into something it's not. Because the truth is, none of you lived through this. None of you had to come home every single day to a partner who was watching your every move, questioning every text message, every phone call, every second you spent away from her. None of you had to deal with the slow, exhausting mental drain of being accused of things you never did, of trying to prove your innocence over and over again, only to have her move the goalpost every single time. None of you had to wake up to a phone call from your job, telling you that your wife broke into your workplace to plant yet another tracking device on you. None of you had to make the impossible decision between staying in a marriage that had become completely toxic or walking away and being branded the bad guy. And I get it. I get why some of you want to see me as the villain. Because it's easier to believe that I must have done something wrong than to accept that sometimes people just lose themselves, that sometimes marriages don't end because of cheating or abuse or some huge betrayal. Sometimes they end because one person refuses to see reality, because one person creates a problem out of nothing and refuses to let it go, because one person decides that no matter how many times their partner reassures them, it will never be enough. That's what happened to my marriage. And no, I don't feel guilty for how things ended. I don't feel guilty for pressing charges. I don't feel guilty for walking away, because at the end of the day, I did what I had to do to protect myself. And if you think that makes me heartless, fine. Think whatever you want, because this is the last time I'm talking about it. I'm not giving any more updates. I'm not answering any more questions. I'm not defending myself any further, because if after everything I've shared, you still think I'm the bad guy, then nothing I say is going to change your mind. Not an idiot. And honestly, this is one of the most disturbing escalation stories I've read here in a while. This wasn't insecurity. This was stalking. The moment she planted a GPS tracker on OP's car and then bugged OP's workplace, it crossed straight into criminal behavior. People excusing this as anxiety or bad friends are minimizing how dangerous this was. OP didn't abandon her. OP protected himself. And now let's hear community's opinion. I'm shocked by how many commenters are blaming you. Mental health struggles explain behavior, but they do not excuse illegal actions. You gave her multiple chances, communicated clearly, suggested therapy, and set boundaries. She ignored all of it and escalated every time. At some point, staying would have meant accepting abuse. Walking away wasn't cruel. It was necessary. What really gets me is how she never took responsibility. Even at the end, it was always, "You forced me. You made me. You're overreacting." That's classic abuser logic. Love doesn't require surveillance, control, or proof of innocence. You didn't ruin her life. She destroyed her own by refusing to stop when told repeatedly. People saying you should have handled this privately are ignoring that companies don't mess around with workplace security breaches. This wasn't a couple's issue anymore. It was a legal one. If the genders were reversed, no one would hesitate to call this terrifying. You got out before it turned even worse, and that was the right call.